Cash Flow Diary Podcast, episode 469.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cash Flow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because here's the thing. I have said it before, and I will say it again. And I think you already know kind of what I'm going to say, actually. You and I will never, keywords, never out-earn our personal growth, period. And one of the most important things that you can invest your time in doing is making sure that you become a bigger, better person. And one of the ways of doing that, of course, is allowing someone else's ideas into your life. So let me give you an example of what I mean. You may be in a position right now that you are used to earning, a six-figure income on an annual basis. And that's wonderful. But would it warp your mind if all of a sudden you were able to put yourself in a position where you had six figures on a monthly basis? I think the answer is yes, but in order to make that transition, you must transform. I have with me today a gentleman who's going to help you do exactly that. Transform because you want that type of transition. I have with me none other than Brian Matsen. He's widely known as a respected and highly successful entrepreneur, sales trainer, investor, speaker, and proven expert in personal development. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Brian, he started out as a guy just like you and I. That means the things that he's achieved, you and I can actually do. And I want you to listen. I want you to take notes because at the end of the day, on the other end of your journey, I think Brian is a part of the path. So help me welcome Brian Matsen. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jay. Thanks for having me on.
I am glad that you are here today, excited for it because personal growth, it's kind of important.
It's very important. Every one of us, our results are a direct reflection of what's going on inside of us.
Excellent.
And if we're going to change what's going on the outside, we got to change what's going on the inside.
I can't wait to jump into it. Now, before we do, however, this being your first time here, I have to ask you the same question that I ask everybody else. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, the Hulk, etc. Because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them, as an entrepreneur, occasionally, I can imagine myself flying around town, maybe even wearing a cape and tights and using my products and services to save my customers. But also like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. For example, if you think about, say, Spider-Man. There was a time before he was Spider-Man, he was just Peter Parker, going to school, getting good grades, trying to take some photos, get some pizza money, maybe go out with a girl or so, and make that happen. That was it. And then one day, he discovers that, hey, something happened to me, and I've got some special abilities now, and I get to choose whether to use them for good or for evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before your career in the financial industry for 20 years, before helping individuals become bigger, better, badder versions of themselves. I mean, you spent 14 years as a regional vice president with ING and Voya Financial. That's a Fortune 500 company. You received number of awards and amassed over $1 billion in sales. So people know you for a number of different things. But what we want to know before all that is who is Brian Matsen?
Well, Jay, I'm just a normal guy. I I grew up here in Orange County. My parents,
That's Orange County, California,
that's Orange County, California.
not to be confused with New York or Florida.
That's correct.
Got it.
Different coast.
Yep.
I grew up with divorced parents. My mom was a school teacher, and I was just a normal kid. Loved sports. Was pretty good in school, in elementary school, but then as time went on, school really wasn't my forte. I would say. So love sports, love being social, but school was definitely not my cup of tea, I guess you would say.
Totally understood. What I'm
Yep.
curious, what sport?
My main focus was basketball, and I was fortunate enough to continue on and play in college. And I've coached now for 25 years, so the game of basketball has been a big part of my life.
Wow. Okay. There it is. Basketball coach. Got it. Now, you said something a second ago that I think a lot of the people can relate to, or at least to some degree. You said school was not your forte. How did you discover that, and what exactly do you mean?
Well, I just honestly, it was really hard for me. School, I guess when I got into junior high is when it started. Junior high and high school, I struggled when it came to academics. I was a smart kid, but it was tough for me. I enjoyed doing other things more, and it was hard for me to really focus on academics. And because of that, I always kind of felt that there'd be some issues there with in my future, money in particular.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, you'd always been taught that to be very successful, and I certainly wanted to be, that you had to do really, really well in school. And I knew that I wasn't really, really good in school. So that there was some issues there. I get some what I would call a paradigm around how much success I could have as an adult professionally because of that.
Well, I think that's interesting. So you're saying you believed at one point that because of this, there was this causal event, or i.e. I'm not good at school, therefore something other than something other than something really good is going to happen to me as an adult. Is that correct?
Yeah, no question. Or ever being able to earn the kind of money that I'd like to earn. The people that I saw that I admired that did well financially. I wondered, can I still do what they're doing if I'm not a straight A student?
Interesting. I like it. Okay. So take us on this journey, because the person who's thinking those thoughts is clearly not the guy in front of me today. So how did we make that transition? Because I can imagine that there's a number of people who feel that way. I mean, I know for myself, I dropped out of college. High school was okay. I was just ultimately bored and didn't really want to be there. But at the same time, the world can present this itself in such a way that if you don't do these 12 checkmark things in this prescribed order, then we have nothing for you. But yet you've managed to carve a completely different path. So tell us about that.
Yeah, no question. So thankfully I did have sports, because sports gave me a tremendous amount of confidence. I was very good at sports, and again, in particular in basketball. So that really gave me a lot of confidence that I probably wouldn't have had if I didn't have sports. So I knew that it taught me a lot, that I could work hard, that I could focus, I could have goals there and be successful. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And then right out of high school, I volunteered to go on a 2-year mission for my church. in Puerto Rico. So I left home, went to a foreign place that
hold on.
where I didn't know anybody.
You said volunteer to go to Puerto Rico. That sounds like a vacation right now.
Well, let me tell you, it was no vacation.
Okay. We believe you. I'm just saying, if you said like volunteer to, go to Antarctica or something, they'd be like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. But there's probably a lot of people who are like, that couldn't have been that hard, Brian. Come on, really?
It was very hard. It was the most difficult thing I had ever done in my life. And it turned out to be the foundation for my future success and for everything that has happened to me in my adult life. But it was a very difficult experience. I didn't know Spanish at all when I arrived.
Oh yeah, this is great.
So I was forced to, from day one, to go up to people that I didn't even know and introduce myself and strike up a conversation. And again, this was in a foreign language. So I had to adapt really quickly. And if you've been to Puerto Rico, for those of you that do speak Spanish, and if you know Puerto Ricans, they speak faster than anybody that speaks the Spanish language. I had the little Spanish that I did know. I was like, that didn't help me at all, because when I first heard them speak, I was like, is this even Spanish?
That's so awesome.
They spoke so fast. It was incredible. But yeah, I was forced to talk to people every day in a foreign language, and I really had to hit that, what I call a terror barrier, and push through it and force myself to overcome these fears of speaking with people. And it got easier as time went on, but it was very difficult in the beginning.
Interesting. Got it. Okay. Now you said something that I think is pivotal for everybody to understand, in that you said this laid the foundation. How so?
Well, first of all, we were on a very tight schedule. So we woke up every morning at 6:30. We would study for a couple of hours, both individually and with my companions. So throughout the 2 years, I was always assigned another missionary that was with me. So we would study together, and then we'd study on our own before we went out, and worked all day long. And we did. We worked all day long, from 9 o'clock in the morning until sometimes often 10 o'clock at night. And we were out, physically, walking or riding our bikes, knocking on doors, talking to people, throughout the cities that we were in. It was extremely hard work and very hot weather, by the way, very humid. And but it taught me so many things. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to focus on other people, to serve other people and not focus on myself. It taught me the importance of studying. Just so many positive habits that have, again, just been so pivotal for my success as as an adult.
Got it. So,
and a professional.
So yeah, which is what I was going to say. So, how do we go from there to the version of Brian that we know today, that's been able to help entrepreneurs become bigger, better, badder versions of themselves?
Well, so those two things have, like I said before, sports and that volunteer mission is really what carried me. Mm-hmm. I got home from that mission. I went to college. I did much better in school than I would have if I had not gone on that mission. I can tell you that for sure, because of the habits that I studied or developed. But still, I wasn't a straight A student. I was, maybe a B student at best. But I got done with college, and I thought everything was just going to fall in line, and that my career was just going to take off from day one. And I'll tell you, the first 5 years after college were a real struggle for me. And I went through 4 different jobs in that 5 years. And I met some real obstacles. I can tell you that.
Got it. So it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows once you got that degree?
Not at all. Not at all.
I said that because I know there's a number of people who are like, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. So let's begin to talk about what I like to call that superhero moment. It's the moment where you realize that I've been going about my life, if you will, a certain way, and then something intervening. Usually there's an intervening event that happens, and then you wake up realizing I need to do something different. What was that for you?
Yeah, for me, it was after that 4th job within the 5 years. I got let go, and it was a pivotal time for me. Again, my career wasn't unfolding like I thought it would. And, my confidence was down. I was really struggling. And I thought to myself, you know what, if I keep doing this, I'm going to keep getting the same results. I've got to change. I've got to change the way I'm thinking. And that's the time that I really started to get into personal development. And again, thankfully, I had that mission experience and I had my basketball career to look back on. And I realized that, you know what, I need to focus on, and I need to have that focus that I had when I was an athlete and when I was on my mission. I need to have that same focus in my career. I felt like those first 5 years, I was just kind of drifting. So I really started getting into personal development, and I started to change the way I thought about everything. And the first thing that I did is I said, you know what, I've got to do something that I'm passionate about. These last 4 jobs that I've had have not been jobs that I was passionate about. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I decided, and when I was in college, one thing that I really loved, in business school was the stock market and investing. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's what I need to be doing. I need to be involved in investments and the stock market. I love it. And that's what I need to be doing. And so I made a decision right then that that's what I was going to do, that I was going to get into the financial industry. And that was a big decision and commitment that I made there. And things started to change. I started to get a lot more focused, and my life started to change.
Well, apparently so. I mean, you ended up being there for quite a while. And how do we go from that to $1 billion in sales? Because that's a lot of zeros.
Well, so I went to work for a big company as a financial advisor, and I did that for about a year. And I was doing pretty well for a rookie. And then I was introduced by a friend to the company ING, which is one of the biggest, financial companies in the world. And I had a friend that introduced me to somebody there. He thought I would be good at something that they were offering. And so I went and checked it out. And 2 weeks later, I was working for them. And that's when things really started to take off in my life. When that happened, there was a particular position within the company that matched exactly my real passion, for public speaking and for investing. And I saw these other people doing very well at it, doing very well financially. And I thought to myself, why not me? Why can't I do the same thing they're doing? I have just as much as talent, and ability as they do. So I asked myself that question, why not me? And right there, I made a committed decision that that's what I was going to do. and I was going to make it happen, and I was going to make it happen as quickly as possible. And I ended up getting a regional vice president position in Chicago 12 months later after I joined ING. It took most people that really wanted to do that 5 to 7 years, if at all. So I was able to do it in 12 months. And I attribute that to my absolute committed decision to make that happen, to make it a reality. I got laser focused, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen.
Okay, so this then begs the question, because there's a number of people who, have, strive to get their position, and then now they've gotten it, and they're they were enamored with it, obviously, at one point. But you've made a different decision, and what's interesting to me is that I think in some degrees it's one thing to leave something behind when you're not given a choice, i.e. you're fired. It's another to leave something good for something you might perceive to be better or greater. And I guess my question is where did the courage, the desire, the impetus come from to leave that behind to begin to help other entrepreneurs to be able to make these types of transitions in their own business? All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow? But most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
Yeah. So I like I said, I did this for a long time. I worked for the same company, for 14 years and was at the, at the pinnacle of my career. I was that's exactly my point. I mean, you're the epitome of comfort, and now you're going to go shake things up. I had the whole golden handcuffs. I had everything. I mean, there was no reason, sensibly for me to leave, but I knew that for me, it was the right thing to do. I really felt like my true calling, at that time was to help individuals and businesses recognize and realize their true potential. And I felt like I had a lot of the answers that, people are searching for to help them get to the next level. And so I made the difficult decision to leave my career and do that. As difficult as it was, I've never looked back on it and regretted it 1 second. It's been the best thing that I've done. And it's been such a reward and joy for me to watch my clients do better than they've ever done before and never thought possible.
No, okay, let's talk about that, because the thing that's going through my head is I hear that it's almost like there's this hero's journey type of story right now where you set off into the world, you had some challenges, you overcame them, you had more challenges, you overcame them. The hero has learned some lessons and has now returned going, I am bigger, I am better, I am better. Now let me help you. And I hear that, which is great. What are some of the things? So I'm sure there's a number of people. Let's give them three different categories. There's an entrepreneur listening who maybe they're just getting started, but they're having trouble doing what you did, leaving that comfort behind. There's that person. And then there's the person who's already started, and maybe their business is, kind of going, but there's only so many times where they can only do 300,000 a year or 400,000 a year. And they're like, man, I should be able to produce more. Like, what's up with that? And then there's that third person who's, they're doing fairly fine. Maybe they're in the millions of dollars, of revenue, etc., but they're ready to still take it to the next level. What would you say has been common amongst your clients, in terms of the most common things that are in our way?
That's a great question. Fear is number one, right? Fear is the number one cause of failure. So that is always going to be a struggle. And by the way, that's never going to go away. If you want to grow, if you want to expand as a person, as a business, there's always going to be fear. And you have to learn how to bust through what I call the terror barrier, and get to the other side. And, most people don't ever get to the other side. They let fear control them. So that is something that I help my clients understand and get over, is fear, number one. Another thing is, Jay, is that most people, even successful people, a lot of times they're not real clear about exactly what it is they want. They're not going after the right type of goals. And that's one of the things that I've helped my clients with more than anything, is get real clear, maybe for the first time in their lives, on exactly what it is they want. There's three types of goals, A, B, and C type goals.
Okay.
An A-type goal is something that you already know how to do. So if you're setting that type of goal, there's no growth involved in that at all. You're not going to grow. It's already something that you know how to do. But unfortunately, a lot of people set those type of goals. Then there's B-type goals. And these are the type of goals that people think they can do. Well, if I do this, and this, and this, and this falls into place, then I can grow my business by 10 or 15% this year. Well, the problem again with that is that, yeah, you might be stretching yourself just a little bit, but there's no inspiration in that. You're that goal is gonna fall off real quickly. So those A and B type goals, there's no inspiration. There's no passion involved in that. The type of goals that every one of us need to be going after are C type goals. And C type goals are the type of goals that there are wants. It's what we really, really want, but we have no idea how we're going to get there.
Okay. I think some of us live in C type goals, but, yeah, absolutely. Give us an example of, if you can, what someone that you worked with who came to you maybe with A type goals, but you helped them transform them into the C type.
Yeah, I mean, just about every one of my clients, even I think most people that are goal setters, I think they typically are more in that, setting B type goals, things that they think they can do. But I've had many clients. I'll just give one example. I have a client that owns a business. He's got about 15 employees. He had been getting, the same results for probably the last 5 years, same revenues. Doing well, but not anywhere close to where he wanted to be. And so I helped him, develop a C-type goal, and it's just been amazing. In a matter of 3 or 4 months, Jay, his business started to just absolutely explode. He's passionate. He's energetic every day. He's excited to get out of bed. His business is completely changing because he's going after something that's 10 times more than he's ever gone after before.
So,
and I have no doubt that he's going to reach his goal now, because he has that vision of what it is that he really, really wants and how he really wants his life to be.
Right. And I guess what I'm saying is, it sounds like we're out of practice. Okay. So we don't know if on our own, left to our own devices, we're going to end up in the A or B category. What is an example of a C type goal? And more importantly, how could I transform something that I think I can do, or something I can already know that I can do, that I've gotten written down, into that C type goal? Yeah.
So like I said, let's say you own let's say you own a business, or you're a real estate investor, and you've been making a certain amount of money, for several years. Mm-hmm. And you're the type of person that's maybe set, B type goals. You said, at the beginning of each year, you say, I want to grow my business by 10%. For most people, that sounds, pretty good, 10, 15%. Well, a C type goal would be something like, you have revenues or you're making, let's say you've been making, $250,000 a year on average. Well, now you want to make, $250,000 a month. Mm-hmm. That's a C type goal. You don't know how, that's what you really want deep down inside, but you have no idea how you're going to get there.
Got it.
So that's the first step, is setting the goal. But then we got to talk about, paradigms, because paradigms, really dictate everything that we do. And if you don't have the right, mindset, you're not going to be able to get there.
So, well, okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Because the idea, of whatever you earn on an annual basis becoming monthly income, that's a real thing for a lot of individuals, either coming into the real estate space, and definitely for individuals coming into the short-term rental space. But you mentioned this paradigm. How do you define those? And more importantly, if that's the key, how do we shift them so that it becomes our new normal, so to speak?
Absolutely. So a paradigm really is a multitude of habits that are stored in your subconscious mind. Fixed ideas that are stored in our subconscious are habits. Another really good definition of a paradigm that I like is a paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And guess what? Almost all of our behavior is habitual.
Yeah.
So that's what a paradigm is. We all have a paradigm. Every company has a paradigm. They might call it company culture. Company culture is just really a company paradigm. It's a group of individuals that all have paradigms that have, come together and created a company culture or a company paradigm. But we all have a paradigm, and your paradigm has an enormous influence over your logic, your productivity, your effectiveness, your creativity, your use of time, your perception, and your ability to earn money. So if you don't change your paradigm, you're not going to be able to change, the amount of money that you're making. Right now, you're programmed to make the amount of money that you're making. And if you want to start making what you are, making in a year, and you want to start making that in a month, well, you're going to completely have to change your money paradigm. And it's not an easy thing to do. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs, investors struggle, because they've been programmed to make a certain amount of money for so long. And now all of a sudden, they have the opportunity to create much more for themselves, but they have a real hard time getting past that. There's only two ways, Jay, that you can change a paradigm. Okay. Number one is through a strong emotional impact. The loss of a job, the death of a loved one, a divorce. You've been through a horrific, event like 9/11 or something like that. those are ways that, your paradigm can be shifted or changed. It's not the way you want it to happen, but those kind of things are definitely cause paradigm shifts. The other way you can do it is through constant spaced repetition with the help of a coach or mentor that really understands, paradigms. And that's exactly what I do, is help people change their paradigms. So you've got to get clear on what you want, number one, with a goal, with a C-type goal, but then you have to learn how to change your paradigm. And that's a difficult process.
Well, what's interesting is coming up for me at this particular moment is that I'm just sitting here thinking that I'm like, in the back of my head, I said to myself, okay, so Brian, you're telling me that my operating system is designed to work a certain way. How do I make sure I don't have a virus? And more importantly, how do I upgrade it? Because that's really that's the terms that my brain started going into. I use a lot of technology stuff. So that's what I'm like, oh, so you're telling us we have a virus that we have been pre-programmed. We might be still running Windows 95. And now it's time to upgrade either to, an Apple operating system or the latest version of Windows. And I get that. It's just that can seem like a blind spot. Like, how does even someone know? Let's take it this way. How does someone know that it's time to come find you, like to upgrade their operating system? How do they know that? Because they could feel like everything's okay. Is that the signal? I mean, how do we know?
Usually, and again, I work with people that are, just starting out, and I work with people that are very successful already. They're making very good money. Some of them are already millionaires. But like you said, they want to expand. They want to grow. Most people that come to me feel stuck. They feel like they're doing everything that they can. They're working as hard as they possibly can, and they're trying to do everything that they've been taught. But guess what? They're stuck. Their results are the same that they've been for, maybe a couple years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. So it's usually people that are unhappy with where they're currently at. And they know that they can't do the same thing over and over because they already know what that equates to. They know they need to do something different. And if they don't, they know they're going to get the same results. They're going to make the same amount of money that they've been making. They're not going to get to that next level. And it's important to note too, Jay, that your paradigm has been developed from, number one, it's genetic. A lot of the habits that you and I have been passed along from generation to generation. We look like our relatives because of genetics, right?
Right.
We have the same mannerisms, but we also have a lot of the same habits. So that's number one. And then the second part is, and more important, is your environmental conditioning. It's how you were raised. It's how how you grew up. You were taught certain things, and you've been carrying around habits that have been, possibly in your family for generations, but certainly for a good portion of your own life. And again, they're not easy to change, but once you understand how to do it, you can make a quantum leap in any area of your life, not just your business, but in any area, once you understand how to change a paradigm.
And but I think one of the paramount things as I'm listening to you going, that stuff, that paradigm that we have, it didn't get there, quote unquote, overnight. I'm going to take an assumption and say it's not going to go away overnight either.
Yes, but it can go, you're exactly right. What you need to do is you need to rewire your subconscious mind. And that's what I help my clients understand. I mean, what I teach is not taught in business school. It's not taught in any formal education environment. I teach my clients how their minds work, what the difference is between their conscious and subconscious, and how that leads to their behavior and ultimately to their results. And so 95% or more of what we do is based on what's going on in our subconscious mind. And most people don't know that. Everything that you've learned in school and even the training that you get, that is all stored in your conscious mind. But you can know and have a lot of information, but your results don't change. Why? Because it's the subconscious mind which dictates your behavior, your actions, and ultimately your results. And until you change what's going on in the subconscious, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but it's not going to help you. And that's where a lot of people get frustrated because, even the people that have done well in school, for example, that doesn't always equate to financial success. And they think, well, I did great in school, so why am I not having financial
Right. I was
success?
Awesome there. I should be awesome
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Totally.
You have a lot of knowledge, and that's great. That's all stored. But guess what? It's not about what you know. It's about what you do. And if you look at any successful person in any industry, it's what they do. It's not as much what they know. It's what they're doing different that makes them successful. And that's the exciting part. So for people that, didn't do well in school, or that didn't like school, that's okay. You can be extremely successful in spite of that. In fact, the people that I know that are most successful, most of them don't have college educations. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's because of what they do, not because of what they know.
Completely understood. So for those that have listened this far, those that are vibing with what it is that you're sharing and want to find out more, what's going to be the best way for them to track you down and do exactly that?
The best way is to go to my website, which is brianmatsen.com, BrianMatsen. There's a lot of great information on the site about what I do and how I help both individuals and businesses. On every page, there's a link to a free consultation for an hour with me. You just simply fill out your email address and your phone number and send that to me. And I give everybody that contacts me a free consultation, no charge, no obligation, just to find out more about what I do and how I can help them.
Awesome. Now, as we wind down here, I have a final question for you because I think your answer is going to be interesting and I want to hear it. Let's pretend for a second that someone listening is, they've decided, they've listened to your story. They're like, you know what? He sounds just like a normal person. I can be awesome, just like Brian. I want to become that entrepreneur. I want to get started. I want to make that happen. And they're standing at what I like to call the precipice of decision. Maybe they're even standing in front of what is the superhero outfit store. They're ready to pick out their cape and tights and go, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today. But like I know, that when we reach those moments of decision, oftentimes it comes with a companion, and that companion comes in the form of a voice. And that voice often reminds us, of things like, what happened last time. And oh my God, are you think you're actually going to go from 6 to 7 figures, 7 to 8? Yeah. I mean, I know you can't do those things. And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that this time it's going to be completely different. They're going to follow through. They're going to make it happen. And Brian, they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
Well, that's a great example of your paradigm talking to you. That's what it is. That's your paradigm talking to you saying, Jay, what are you thinking? You can't do this. Or what, when you made this decision last time, this is what happened. You didn't work out. That's your paradigm talking to you, and you've got to ignore that and pay attention to your intuition, which is telling you you can do it. You have all the ability in the world, and so when you make a committed decision, Jay, something happens to your brain. You flip your mind and your brain onto a different frequency. When you make a committed decision to something, you will find the resources, the people, the money, anything that you need to make it happen, you will find it. If you make a committed decision. Now, most people, when they make a decision, it's not a committed decision. They think they're making a decision, but they're really not, because it's not 100%. You have to burn the boats. You have to decide, you know what? This is what I want for my life. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to be fully committed to it. And once you do that, boom, everything will begin to change. And again, if you're ready to do that and take your life, your income onto to the next level, I can help you get there. I don't think what I teach works. I know it works. I know it works. I know from experience. And every single one of my clients that is implementing what I'm telling them to do are doing better than they ever have before. And that's extremely rewarding for me.
I can hear it in the voice, and I love it. I definitely want to say that I appreciate you being an example of actually like having had your own transformation, so to speak, as opposed to just saying, hey, look, here's something I think might work. In here, you can have it. This is more, that I've been through this process, and now I've helped other people through this process. I've been helping people. And if you want the same thing, that's exactly why I exist. And I definitely want to say that I appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge, your insight, as well as your wisdom here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
Jay, thanks so much. It's been a real privilege and honor. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means get over to brianmatsen.com. BrianMatsen.com. Why? Because the consultation was free. Hello. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that it costs you nothing. It costs you time. It's an investment, and he's willing to invest in you right now. So that's exactly why you should do it. You've been looking for someone else's ideas to help you move past those barriers, or if you're in one of those terror barriers like he called it, here's the great news. It's time to tear them down. It can be done, and you can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.